it does not reduce printing costs. Okay, so just because the customer thinks that you're using so much more white space, you're not skimping out and pocketing the difference. Okay.
That is the best one I've heard. Dude. That is awesome. Oh my
I've had people ask, because I'm not using as much ink, do I have to pay as much?
You're listening to The Angry Designer, where we cut through the industry bull to help frustrated graphic designers survive and thrive.
So today we are trying Clyde Mays. Look at this. Original Alabama style whiskey. It was in the bourbon section, but and maybe it's similar, maybe it's not, but that Clyde, he's got quite the story.
He's got an amazing story and a great website too.
Great website.
Check it out.
I kind of give that up. But I mean, yeah. So I'm kind of scared though. After reading about his story, I'm kind of nervous to actually try this.
Because he was legit 2001.
Yeah, dude, he's been making whiskey for since 1940, but legit in 2001. Salute.
Cheers.
It does smell good, though, doesn't it? Whew, does smell strong. Okay, here we go. All right, Clyde. Wow, that's tasty, man.
It's pretty good.
Wow, Clyde really did have some good,
Yeah.
good history. I mean,
it's burning though.
It's Clyde's secret sauce that they said. He had a secret way of doing this.
Yeah, that's right.
It is burning, but it is flavorful.
It's very good.
I wonder if people down there actually, it's 85 proof. I wonder if people down in Alabama actually like this, or if this is like their equivalent to like Canadian Club whiskey.
Oh, yes, exactly.
I'm curious,
I don't know. That's
price point was pretty good. The design was kind of cool, and the story is kind of neat.
Yeah, the story is great. Yeah.
Mind you, this label, there's a lot going on in this label. I just want to point this out. Like, we've got different fonts, different sizes. We've got pictures.
A lot of text. A lot of copies.
There's not a lot of balance and white space on this one, right? You see what I did there?
Oh, that's why they pay you the big bucks.
Right?
It's a ninja move.
We weren't too soft.
Yes.
Well, never ever has there been a bigger topic of battle of designer versus clients. Okay. Nope. We're talking completely opposite sides of the coin. We're talking like John Ivey versus Jackson Pollock, right? Like Pollock. It's so opposite. And it's white space.
Yes.
Designers love it. Clients hate it. And they just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the really hard thing for designers to do, is to try to convince customers.
It's the hardest thing in the world.
Right?
The hardest thing in the world.
Because obviously some people, Clyde included, they just don't get it.
Nope.
And no matter what, I guarantee the designer on here was like, let's get some breathe space here. They said that no, we want Clyde's picture. No, we want 4 or 5 different fonts here, and there's a little bit of space left there. Let's stick in an 85 proof. Like, there's a lot going on this label,
and not even to mention your ingredients and then the history,
right? Like,
on the bottle.
There's not even white spacing within all the text.
Yeah.
And this.
Yes,
it's a hard sell, and sometimes the client wins.
Yeah,
Clyde won.
Case in point.
But I mean, again, I think that's something that designers struggle.
Yeah,
is to try to convince customers the value, how they struggle and how to sell white space, the benefits of white space, right?
Why
we get it, but sometimes it's not so easy to explain.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So today, what our topic of conversation is of course selling white space as designers. Okay. Because again, we can keep beating the benefits of white space over and over, but it always comes down to the same benefits, which we will talk about, right?
Yep.
But what we're gonna do is we're gonna have some fun with this. We're gonna talk about obviously the most common benefits of white space, why you should use it, all the fun stuff, and then we're gonna put some different spins, between the psychology of what a shitty design looks like without white space, and then of course finishing off with how to sell, different ways or techniques to actually sell customers the value of white space.
Exactly.
It's crazy though, because I mean, I've heard it all over the years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
I've been called lazy. Okay, because I didn't use up the space, right? I've heard people say, I didn't pay for empty space.
That's my favorite. I love that.
Right? Like,
I'm paying thousands of dollars for this, and I'm getting white space. Please,
I swear that was how the birth of the Starburst came up. Okay,
exactly.
There's all that white space in the top right corner. I don't know. Put something in there and
fill it up.
Fill it up. Like but it's true because for whatever reason, the misconception is that it's wasted space. Right. And wasted, it couldn't be further from the truth, And again, I've had, some customers, they claim they like white space. They claim they know white space, but honestly, I think they're clueless.
Sometimes they see it and they're like, well, that's not what I thought white space was.
Right. I've had a customer sell me on the fact that he needed a website. He knew design. And again, the classic, I love Apple. Yeah. I love their website and this, and then
Just
he's like I want like that. So you give him something with lots of white space and this.
Like,
he's upset. He's like, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I asked for. It's like you said Apple, like lots of white space. No, that's not what I meant. Make the image bigger. Put text everywhere. It's just, I don't think we were talking about the same website there, were we?
Yeah.
But it's true. And again, it's like, and no matter where, if it's their website, if it's their brochures and such, like, again, they just ads, like they want to jam everything. Like everything feels like, do we have some clients that are a little bit more savvy?
Oh, savvy. Oh, sorry. I was thinking of our major client who they can't get out of their own way. They have to describe everything in minute detail.
Yes.
So it has to be in everything that they do.
I know.
You know what I mean? And that's the kind of part that I find, like, I think they believe in white space. I think they understood it. They would get it if they'd saw it or if they'd seen it more often.
Yeah.
But because they have no filter, they just jam it up and kind of trip over themselves.
Right? Because they want to just keep adding more and more. And they're like, well, tighten this up. And there's a lot of spacing between those two paragraphs. So just reduce that space so we can fit this in there. It's like, dude, no. And this is a challenge because honestly, I think, there's obviously there's like 12, 13 design principles. Oh, fuck, there's probably like a million of them. But, white space, in my opinion, is probably the most important because it lends itself to every other, design principle. Yeah. Like if you can learn to master and understand white space, in my opinion, you've pretty much figured out design.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're talking between hierarchy, balance, white space owns it all.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that silent element that pulls everything together.
And I think that's the part that people struggle with, especially non-designers. Yeah. Is it's a non-tangible thing. You know what I mean? Like it's not a starburst. It's the opposite of a starburst.
Exactly. Right?
Yes. So I think people have trouble with that, and they don't understand the hierarchy sometimes and the flow and that white space gives,
and they just assume that people will get it.
Right.
But you're right. So you're saying white space gives.
Yes. Yeah, it just gives cleanliness, and it's concise. It helps.
It helps
flow.
With the it's responsible for so much. Okay. Yes. Well, okay. Let's first and foremost, of course, right? And in my opinion, white space helps you create the hierarchy.
Yes.
Okay. And again, I get it. Yeah, there could be other factors, size, headline, sub-headline, image, whatever. But it's white space that allows your eye to travel from area to area, right?
That's right, yeah.
And again, more importantly, you group items using white space, which then helps the hierarchy, right? So you've got your tagline and your sub-tagline at the top, right? Yeah. You've got your body copy, you've got your call to action, plus your website and your phone numbers, your image, everything is equally placed out. So your eye travels from one item to the next, and it knows that this group here is, the headline. This is what's catching my eye. Right. This is where I go for contact information.
Yes.
This is the image that represents the brand. Here is the logo, right? If you were to push all that together and get rid of that white space, you couldn't make any of that out.
Yeah.
I remember that as an exercise. We would eliminate all white space, and then it just kind of it was just a block of everything in the middle, and you'd have to start kind of pulling shit over and out and out. Yeah. So obviously, the hierarchy, it groups important items together.
Yep.
it is responsible for setting up and enhancing focus of items.
Yes.
Okay. And again, this goes back to our hierarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you want the eye to travel. And again, white space does that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you add enough white space, you lay out the elements properly so your eye focuses and retains that attention.
Exactly.
Okay. Incredibly important.
This was a thing. It's like the Gestalt principles, right?
Yeah.
This 3 German dudes got together and decided what hierarchy was. You know what I mean? Like this is science. This is not even, this is beyond what we're doing.
This is beyond our capable design mind.
Exactly.
We just know why it looks good.
So we're almost scientists by proxy,
Almost scientists. I love it.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. White space improves readability. Okay.
Oh, right.
100%. Okay. When you start adding white space around paragraphs, after a hard return, after spacing, 100% it improves legibility.
Mm-hmm.
Look at like newspapers. Okay. Granted, they're atrocious in general because of all the copy. But imagine if you didn't have white space in between the columns, above, below, in between the paragraphs. Imagine what that would look like.
That would be awful.
Right?
Yeah. And no one would read it.
Nobody would, right?
Yeah.
As it is, it's a hard read.
It is.
If it wasn't for white space, it'd be an impossible read.
Exactly.
Okay. And that's key there, right?
Yep.
Even just thinking about, you've got your readers and you got your what is it? Scanners.
Scanners. Yeah.
I scan websites.
Yep, totally.
I scan websites. I scan
You're not
newspapers.
alone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? Again, if it wasn't for the white space on top of everything, I couldn't do that.
Exactly.
So thank you, white space, for helping Moss out on that one. But no, the importance of readability, it's paramount because of white space, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Creates balance. Okay. White space often is so it's obviously it's not white.
Yeah.
Right. But it's sans elements, it's a balance. And so often it's like, you could take an image at 16 by 9, right? 16 by 9, perspective. You could have image on the left-hand side. You could have text, whatever. On the right-hand side, you have the balance of the white space. Even though there's nothing there, it could balance and counterweight all the weight on the other side, right? Simple things like this, like white space is so important for creating the balance that you see in design, right? And again, so by jamming that up, all of a sudden things start feeling topsy-turvy, right? It just feels, I don't know, creates this uneasiness when looking at stuff, right?
Yeah.
So again, incredibly important for balance. Interestingly enough, it reduces something called cognitive overload. And I love that term. I'm going to start using that everywhere. Okay.
Like
but it
chaos.
reduces. Yeah. Well, right. Yeah. Right. So again, your mind, it's so easy to get overwhelmed when you're trying to process items, and especially at the speed that we're processing shit now, right?
Yeah, especially
we're looking at stuff. We need to understand it in 3 seconds, or we've lost people, right?
You're out of there,
Exactly. So by creating the hierarchy, by putting white space and creating the balance and creating the elements, right? It reduces the cognitive overload, right? And provides the visual break needed to understand what you want people to understand, right? It actually, and it's a thing. Yeah. It's a cool thing.
It sounds like science again, too.
Oh my God, there's so much science behind white space. Let me tell you.
It's legit, man.
Right? And ultimately, it conveys this sense of sophistication. Okay, which I don't like that term in the sense of sophistication is like at times we make fun of sophisticated people. We think they're kind of ridiculous because they're so high and mighty. But when it comes to a brand, you don't want to look like a bargain basement brand.
This is true.
Okay,
and generally when you disregard white space, you look like fucking a bargain basement.
A bargain basement. You look like you're selling furniture or you're a car lot or something. And it's just everything is just jammed in your face.
Exactly.
And if that's your brand, fine.
Then good. God bless you.
If
that works.
If you're Giant Tiger and you want to look like you have a ton of shit for $1 or less, good, jam pack it. But if you're selling a higher priced item or you want to elevate your brand, you need white space. You need to kind of calmly, it's like this sense of calm that these higher brands have. And Whitespace delivers that.
Yes.
Okay. And crazy important.
Totally. Can you imagine like BMW putting out a flyer with like 50 cars on 8.5 by 11? It would look terrible.
Right. And then winter tire special here. And then don't forget your lug nuts.
Yeah, don't forget. Exactly.
3% interest. Lease it for this. Like it's pretty, it gets pretty messy.
You would totally shit all over your brand if you abandon these principles of Whitespace. Like it's so important.
It is probably the most important thing, that we have in our toolkits as designers, right? And I genuinely believe that if you master Whitespace, you pretty much master design, at least layout.
Yes.
Anyway, okay. Obviously, there's a lot more components to that, but it touches every single principle, in my opinion, right? Yeah. Not to mention all the other design rules that are out there.
Yeah.
And it's not just for graphic designers, but God knows how important it is in UI, UX, right? Even in life and experience design and in interior designers, right? Shit, it's even important in life.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. And you wouldn't realize it, but how important Whitespace is to a human being, giving yourself time to breathe, giving yourself, calming yourself down from all the digital that's out there, right? And, taking yourself back a bit. It's incredibly important.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I got really deep there, didn't I?
Whoa, that's heavy, man.
That's pretty heavy.
Whitespace for the soul.
There we go. I like that, Sean.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dig into some psychology here of Whitespace.
Haven't we already?
I like pulling out some of these tidbits, but yes, we were, Sean.
People, stay tuned. We are really the angry designers. We are not the angry scientists.
I'm not smart enough to be the angry scientist, that's for sure. But okay, there is, I broke it down into 4 things here, right? The psychology of Whitespace.
Yes.
Okay. And they all are, this is legit. Okay. Yep. So when we're talking about things to use to convince customers, okay, well, this is some actual legitimate studies here that you can, put out to them and just, to help remind them, right? Like for number 1, comprehension. Okay, there is an increased whitespace in a design improves reading comprehension, okay, by over 20%. Okay, versus not, right? Which doesn't sound like much, but right now, people are struggling for sentence by sentence. That's massive.
Yeah.
Okay, but the funny thing is, this even kind of goes down even deeper. Memorability. Basically, the brain can only retain
so much.
5 to 9 bits of information at a time.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the use of whitespace helps group things, to remember. So think about, we talk about headline, big message, image, big message, call to action, big message. If it was all jumbled together, the mind wouldn't be able to process all this stuff, right? But by making these, groupings that whitespace is responsible for, it simplifies what the brain has to actually remember and process, which, again, we only have so much capacity, to remember at a single time.
Yeah.
And so whitespace actually helps the memorability.
Memorability. That's
a weird word. But I mean,
a tough one.
So in that sense, right? And so this is proven, okay?
Yeah.
Satisfaction. Okay. Another study, found that whitespace actually had less to do with comprehension, and than it did actually readers' satisfaction.
Wow.
Okay. And their satisfaction allowed them, they preferred certain documents that were easier to read due to whitespace.
Wow.
Okay. Which, so the satisfaction almost had more to do with it than the actual comprehension. Okay.
Jesus.
Right. And last but not least, and this is ridiculous. Okay.
Oh my God.
Preference. Okay. And now this sounds weird. Okay. But not only did they comprehend text with margins better than not, but there was a staggering 80% of readers preferred more white space than less. And this is all part of the same study. Okay.
Testify.
That's huge.
Yes.
That's almost 100% saying, yes, we want more white space.
Yes.
We want more layouts. We want it to be bigger, bolder, right? And there's been a lot of studies. And this was just on design studies.
Wow.
You should have seen how many more studies there were when it came to UX, when it came to website design, right? And the importance of white space throughout there, let alone, I didn't even dig deeper into psychological or life, like in life or in feng shui or anything like that. Yeah. But I can just imagine, like, there's so many benefits here that 80% of people preferred more white space than less.
Oh, that's
crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, so again, that's a stat. That's significant to go and, politely use as, anything, towards a customer.
Yes.
But we always talk about, these are all the things that Whitespace does do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So maybe I thought we'd come up with a list of what Whitespace doesn't actually do, right? Completely the opposite, right? But not so much, right?
Yeah.
Right? This is just like to help people understand what versus not what.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like for example. Wow.
Oh, it's the Clyde Maze kicking in.
Clyde's come to me already.
Ooh.
Okay. For example, Whitespace doesn't speak loudly. Okay. It's the essence of subtlety. Okay. Right. So it doesn't shout for attention. Okay. Yep. It's quiet.
It is.
Right. And just kind of enhances the message and elsewhere. Okay.
Nice.
Whitespace doesn't explain the content.
Oh,
okay. It doesn't.
No.
It does not explain the content, but it does enhance it. Okay. It contributes to the narrative that, you want to tell in an ad. Okay. It's kind of neat, right? And this is a different way to start thinking about these things. Okay.
Yeah.
Whitespace does not sell directly. Okay. It doesn't. It sets the stage for the content. You can almost be like, it sets it up for the spike.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it actually isn't the sales pitch. Okay. So again, it's that quiet ninja that just kind of like has your back at all time, or that, volleyball setter whenever you need it.
Yeah.
It doesn't act as filler.
Oh.
Okay. Remember that. It's a strategic element that you use. It's not an actual gap filler. And that's massive because customers always refer to it as wasted space,
right?
But wasted space would be gap filling space. Yes. This is not. It's strategic,
right?
When we use and how we use the white space. Okay,
wow.
White space doesn't distract. Okay,
yes.
It's meant to grab the reader's attention. Okay, it's meant to focus it, not take it away. Okay,
wow.
Doesn't complicate. Okay, Whitespace does not complicate.
Yeah.
Okay, its role is to simplify and streamline, not complicate, not confuse. All right, it doesn't supply any specific information at all. Right, it's a silent partner in the background that aids to the information, but it doesn't supply it in any which way, shape, or form. It doesn't replace functionality.
Wow. Ooh.
Okay, it aids the usability in a design, but it doesn't replace the functionality in design. Okay, so it's not a substitute for functional elements. Remember that. Okay, it doesn't work in isolation. Okay, which makes sense, obviously, right? It needs to be balanced with active design elements. Okay. It doesn't guarantee good design. Okay. It doesn't guarantee it, but it is a very critical component to it. Okay. But it's definitely not the sole criteria for good design. Good point. And last but not least, it does not reduce printing costs. Okay. So just because the customer thinks that you're using so much more white space, you're not skimping out and pocketing the difference. Okay.
That is the best one I've heard. Dude. That is awesome. Oh my
I've had people ask, because I'm not using as much ink, do I have to pay as much?
Oh, you're kidding 100%. Me. Wow, that is hilarious. That it doesn't cost. Can you imagine? God. Can you imagine if we could get away with a white space fee to the clients?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see that charge right there? That's for all the white space. I mean,
if anything, we should be charging them more for the white space, okay? Because of the thought and process that had to go into it.
Totally.
But it's true. It's again, white space is kind of it's unique.
Yeah.
Because in all fairness, okay, although in my opinion it is one of the most important parts of a design, okay. You're not adding an element, right? It just enhances everything else.
Yeah. It's almost like, you know how people take a piece of wood and carve an eagle out of it?
Yep.
It's almost kind of like that. You know what I mean? Like it's your design is inside of the white space.
Is inside.
Almost.
You're right.
Do you know what I mean?
Interesting. Massimo Vignelli used to say that he didn't kern the letters. He didn't design letters, right? He would only design the space in between the letters, okay? And he was like very well known for his typographical skills.
Big time,
right?
yeah,
He was the type guy.
Yeah.
And he would always say that he didn't adjust the font. He just had the space in between the font. And that's where, and again, white space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coincidentally enough, right? There was 4 different types of white space, and not that we found it of huge value for this, but
it's interesting, and we did talk about this earlier, which I thought, because most of them we knew about, right?
Okay, we knew the basic, right? The active and passive, which is what people always think about, right?
But I didn't know what passive was exactly.
Fair enough.
I've been using it all this time.
Exactly,
but it's like, oh, that's what that is.
And how it's played off differently, right?
Right.
And then there's, so active, of course, is when you add it to an element, to a design, you add it as a design component, right, to start spacing out elements. Passive, would be setting it up, the margins, which you do design, right? Your columns, your margins, your grids, right? And adding the space around. But again, it's almost more a functional element.
Right.
It's not a design
It's not
element.
a design thing. Yeah. It's just,
And then there's micro and macro.
And macro, yes.
Right? Who the hell knew about all this, right? So, and I didn't even know that there was terms, right? But micro was, the spacing that you would add in between, like the fonts, I guess like spacing between the fonts, like the hard returns after
and all
paragraphs,
that.
which makes a world of difference.
Big time.
Okay,
Big
once
time.
you can
Very
kind of adjust
important.
that, absolutely. And then macro would be what? Like the kerning in between. What was the macro one? Was that
remember
or was
exactly.
it the opposite? Micro might have been for the fonts itself, and macro might have been the padding around the fonts.
I
That was
think
the one that was very similar to passive. Right. There was a lot of similarities between the two. That I think one might have been bigger, and one might have been more type centric. Right.
Yes.
But
Someone
nonetheless,
centered around the type. Yes.
Exactly. And that was one thing actually that obviously we knew.
Oh yeah, we've been doing this all the time.
But we never knew that there was actually terms.
Somebody come along at some point and name these things.
Yeah, right. So good on you.
It's like, okay, well that's really interesting. I had no idea that this was an actual term now. So
it was a term, right?
There you go.
So all right.
Yeah.
So now if there wasn't white space out there, okay? And we lived in the worlds of opposites, right? People might want to actually know how to create designs that suck by not using white space, okay? So again, I don't know if I would directly go to your customer and let them know this, but if you want to create designs that suck, don't use white space. And this is what I mean. Create a design that sucks by overcrowding the design. Okay?
There you go.
Overcrowd that design.
Jam
and I'm
it
talking,
in there.
Fill every inch of the design with content, leaving absolutely no breathing room. Okay? That'll guarantee you to create a design that sucks by not using white space. Okay? Or number 2, make it really complex. And what I mean is add unnecessary design decorative elements everywhere. Like if you see an opportunity to add some speed lines for no reason at all,
do it.
Do it.
Yes.
Right? If it's a fancy ad, well, shit, then add curly cues and fancy things all over the place. Because why wouldn't you?
You would,
right? This makes the ad more complex,
totally,
which makes it suck.
Which makes it suck.
Don't leave white space.
What you want,
right? Fill that shit. Okay. You want to create an ad that sucks by not using white space. Okay. Create a lack of focus.
Oh,
okay?
I love those.
Why would you want anybody to focus in on something, right? White space brings your eye to a specific place. Who does that?
I want to take my time. I want to wander around and do whatever.
Aimlessly.
I don't want to get all the story.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Why bother, right? I can view an ad any way I want to.
That's right. You don't tell me where to go.
Don't tell me where to go. So don't give me a lack of focus, okay? Okay. And while you're at it, make sure it's poorly legible. Okay. There's no reason for me to read something very easily.
Yes.
Okay. Frustrate me. Let me find it. Make it very difficult, to amidst all the cramming of this text that you're going to do, right? Like cram that text all together.
Yes.
Don't give me space in between paragraphs.
Nope.
Even reduce it in between the columns. Okay. Make it nice and tight so it's hard for me to read.
Yes.
Okay. Because again, that's what you do when you create a crappy ad. Plain and simple.
I love it.
Okay. Make sure that the composition is unbalanced.
Oh,
okay.
My favorite.
When you're looking at it and it feels uneasy, and you're like, wait,
you're getting car sick,
Car sick. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to make sure the composition is unbalanced because you don't want people to calmly look at something and dig too deep to find something. You don't want that. You want to make sure that they're just on edge looking at it. While you're at it, this creates visual stress.
Oh,
okay?
yes, which is great for the reader.
We don't want white space, okay? We want to create, we don't want a calmness. We don't want white space to create calmness.
No.
We want to create visual stress in an ad, okay?
Yes.
Or a website or a composition.
Yes.
Because this surely will make it suck. Absolutely.
We're out to break brains, baby.
You want to decrease people's comprehension. Okay.
Yeah.
So evenly space everything on the page. Okay. Everything. Make sure that there's equal space above a headline and then between the headline and a subheadline, between the subheadline and the body copy. Okay.
Yes.
Everything needs to be equally spaced
Yes.
because again, why wouldn't it? Okay. There's no reason for white space here. Okay. In order to create a shitty ad, you want to make sure everything is equally spaced so we decrease comprehension. We won't know where to start and stop.
Why
would you?
Yes, we want people to forget things after, maybe.
Definitely a crappy ad that doesn't use white space, okay, will help us damage the brand.
Oh, that's the goal. Right?
That's the goal. Why would you want to elevate a brand? Make somebody feel sophisticated. Like the bargain basement companies and like the value ads, they don't do it.
They don't do it at all.
They jam-pack successful. Right? You always see that guy at the side of the road with that that air blowing thing.
Whipping the arrow around.
The gorilla who's whipping the arrow. Right? That's the kind of company.
That's what you want. Yes.
Sophistication is no need for that. Okay.
No.
So white space, don't need that. Okay. Of course, reduce impact.
Yes.
Okay. Because why would we want to create something that's impactful? By actually bringing people's eyes to it. Right.
Yeah.
That's only going to help. In the composition, and we don't want to do that. We want to omit any sort of white space necessary and reduce the impact. So when you're looking at it, you're just looking at a blob of content.
You're trying to figure out what it is you're looking at.
Exactly. User fatigue. Okay. You want to create user fatigue in a shitty ad.
Yes.
Because again, you want people to look at it and just struggle with every inch of their eye moving around that website, that ad, and make it just so fucking tiring. Right. That's what, why white space? I don't want to clean that up.
Yeah.
We want to make people tired by looking at this, okay? And last but not least, okay, make the navigation fucking difficult. Okay? Whether it's a brochure, whether it's a website, whether it's an ad. I mean, we don't want people to easily navigate that with white space. We don't want people to find out where the contact. They need to look for that.
You got to look hard.
You got to look hard for that call to action, that phone number, or that navigation. You need people. They really want it. They better look for that
that's
shit.
Right. Yeah, make them earn it.
Make them earn it.
Yeah. The client paid a lot of money for this
that
website.
ad, right?
Yes,
the least you can do is earn that right for that phone number.
That's right.
So again, our top list of creating ads that suck by not using white space.
That is a world I do not want to live in. I'm sorry. That is fucking scary, man.
It's scary, but isn't it true?
It is absolutely
so absurd. But I mean, again, white space, the lack of white space, obviously to the extreme, creates exactly this shit.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of things that, unfortunately, I mean, while I wouldn't totally throw this in a customer's face, you can remind them that without white space, they will be overcrowding a composition. Without white space, it's going to make it difficult for the navigation, and this is the whole point of this experience. By realizing what you don't want to do, you kind of really emphasize what you do want to do.
Yes. Yeah. You do not want to stress people out. Because that is not a good association with
and
the brand.
It really is funny how much
it's true.
Again, I love maximalism. I think it's fun. I think it's impactful. Yeah. But sometimes for an ad, it's not very smart.
No.
It's great as a design element.
Right.
But if you want people to navigate their way, you have to. It's going to be overwhelming.
Yes.
Right. And that is the beauty of white space, is that it really does. allow us to kind of tailor that experience
Yes.
so they know the message from start to finish of an ad.
Exactly.
Right? I keep saying ad, but of course website or whatever, right?
I kind of see what you're saying. I'm thinking, for whatever reason, I'm thinking like David Carson. Like you'd see his pieces in magazines, right? And it have his crazy maximalism kind of thing. But the article was easy to read.
Yes,
it had
it
a
was.
nice flow.
Yes, it
there
was.
was white space in there
Yep.
to complement
Yep.
what he was doing, right?
Think about his McAllen stuff that he did,
Yes.
right? It wasn't like the ads.
No.
Okay. The ads, they obviously featured his crazy, insane artwork.
Yep.
But it was still very easy. The ad itself was still beautiful. It was very clear, lots of good white space, lots of balance and hierarchy.
Yes.
And it allowed you to see what the product was. So again, for every pro, you need the balance of white space for this.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he understands that.
Absolutely,
Even though
does.
you would look at him and think, well, geez, there's not much white space in that. But like you said,
You
there's
look
the
at his
hierarchy.
compositions.
Yes, his composition is amazing.
He didn't just throw shit out.
Exactly.
It's not a Jackson Pollock painting, right?
That's right. It's not.
Yeah, that's lack of white space.
That is a lack of white space. Oh, that was great, man.
that was
Holy
kinda fun.
smokes.
I'm going to take a little bit more of this
All
before
right.
I get into our final,
Yes.
home stretch here, guys. And this is what you've all been waiting for.
That's right. This is how you save this, right?
Yeah. This is, how we would recommend 9 ways that you as a graphic designer can sell white space or the importance of white space to a customer.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, this incorporates everything that we've joked about throughout this podcast, but it is serious topics, right? And again, we're constantly using these. And I think that's where people struggle because oftentimes, it's hard to explain.
That's it.
And that's why what we've done is try to, find different ways to explain this.
Yes.
And now we're going to sum it all up for you, right?
Yes.
Like, for example, right? 9 ways to sell white space to a customer. Number 1, right?
Yes.
Use analogies that they would understand, right?
Okay.
Compare white space in design, as pauses in a conversation, okay? Or as the space in between chorus, in a song, right?
Yes.
Have people understand that it's important to have those pauses, to have the moment for people to, reflect on what they just took in.
Yeah, and absorb what they
and
have.
absorb it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Imagine if a conversation was like this and there was absolutely no pauses to anywhere and it kept on going on and on and on. You would never understand where things start and stop. And then all of a sudden, it's going to become like really overload. You're going to get really tired listening to the whole thing. And you're going to think, what the hell? This guy's like an Eminem rap video wannabe? And it's like, no, really, I haven't wanted to be like Eminem because, again, he was blonde. I was dark haired. I'm Italian. He came from Detroit. He just kind of made a mess.
Yeah,
it is.
Oh, Slim Shady. Oh, that was
But
awesome.
it's true that those pauses in real life analogies that you can kind
you're
of
right.
give them help them understand that you need those pauses, those breaks, in order to comprehend. And white space does exactly that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so translate real life to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2. Show real world examples. Okay. And again, customers seem to know this because they're telling us all this shit all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and what I mean by that is, point out well-known brands that they know, and can understand, and then how they use white space versus companies that don't.
Yeah.
So again, everybody knows Apple and Apple, not that they've coined white space, but boy, did they embrace it and own it, and like right from day one, right? Volkswagen, another one, embraced and owned it. So compare these brands, right? Google, right? From day one.
Yeah.
Compare these brands to, the sleazy car dealership down the street, okay? Or the cheap furniture shop, at the end of the street, right?
Yeah.
Compare these two businesses and being like Apple, higher end, their design reflects this, their brand reflects this.
Yeah.
These kinds of shops don't.
Yes.
And that's why, right? Where do you see, even like a bulk barn, okay? You look at their ads, okay? It's not, they don't use white space at all.
Nope.
Because again, it doesn't match their brand.
Yes.
Okay. So it doesn't always have to be the sleazy places,
Yeah.
but it does have to be that crazy, uneasy, high volume place.
Yes,
And you have to
exactly.
help them realize, where are they in that mix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, then help them relate the white space to their business goals. Okay. Because ultimately, everybody knows this, white space, ensues this calmness, this trustworthiness, right? Whitespace is almost like when you're listening, you're lowering your voice, you're speaking calmly, people are leaning in to hear you, versus these other businesses that are just chaos and just in your face and buy, right?
Yep.
Where are they on this, right? Where are they in the spectrum? Do they want to be considered a little bit more credible and trustworthy?
Yeah.
Or are they trying to jam all this information? And if this doesn't work for you, maybe we'll get you on our finance plan. If the finance plan is good enough, hey, we'll give you the first month for free. And don't forget, we're also going to give you a coffee maker to walk away from. Like, you can actually kind of, align it with their business goals and how they actually want to, be perceived as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Number 4, explain the impact Whitespace has on user experience.
And here's the thing. That's
huge,
brilliant.
right? Whitespace makes content more accessible.
Yeah.
Okay, for a bigger, broader audience, right? Having something clean compared to their store, right? And tell them, having a clean store, clean, uncluttered store helps customers find what they want, helps them, makes them want to return, versus walking into a store where shit is falling off the shelves, it's unorganized, it's chaotic, right?
Exactly.
No, you don't need that kind. And so this is where it's like the user experience, translates to Whitespace. Whitespace, the user experience, right? You almost want to tie those two worlds together.
Big time.
Number 5, highlight the functional benefits of Whitespace. And what I mean by that is Whitespace isn't necessarily just for aesthetics.
Yes.
Okay. It serves practical functions. It helps highlight call to actions. It helps highlight differentiating factors between them and their their competition, right?
Yes.
It increases the reading comprehensions and helps any sort of struggles for a customer take those struggles away and understanding what makes them different versus their competition, right? What their USP is.
Yeah.
Number 6, you can try using the principle of less is more.
Yes.
Okay. And again, by having more white space, the elements that do exist on the page have more weight, have more legitimacy, right? They have more impact.
Yes.
So is it better for customers to leave with one solid message versus having 10 minor messages?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
There are these smart rings out there, and some of them, they were trying to figure out all these different things because they do a lot of things, these smart rings, right? Smart rings. Right, connected ring, like it actually, and so it tracks my heart rate. It tracks my oxygen levels.
Does your watch do that?
Right. Well, no, not this watch.
That one. Okay.
Yeah, not this watch, but other watches, right? But the smart ring tracks my physical activity, my steps, right? It does so much, Sean, that it's like it would take me an hour to explain to you. Okay. But if I told you that it tracks my sleep patterns, and it lets me know how to improve my sleep, and it just, that's the one thing it harps on, because that's that one thing that I really wanted, and that's what I was known for. All of a sudden, it does 9 other things, and that's fantastic.
But
that
one thing, that was what I.
That's the one that's like everybody's walking away from like, wow, that's fucking incredible. Right. So, would you rather know 10 minor things, or man, this one thing has changed my life, and now I can get the best sleep schedule of my life. I feel energetic. I feel better. Oh yeah, it does all other stuff.
Yeah,
but it's helped me sleep better, and boom, that's done.
That's what I wanted.
It really focuses in on the on the messaging and the one that makes the biggest impact. It's our job to define which one to focus
is the most
in on,
important.
right?
Yes,
and working with the customer.
Research.
But again, that's what Whitespace will do, right? It leaves that less is more concept, will allow you to focus in on the most important elements to the customer.
Yes.
Right? And to the product. So again,
brilliant.
Number 7, you can talk about the cost of clutter. Okay. And what I mean by this is when you start overcrowding a design with too much information, too much visual, it actually costs them more in the long run, because it leads to customer confusion. Okay. It leads to, a really bad experience, poor customer experience. And so by putting all this shit into an ad, into a website, it will turn people off.
That's right.
So it goes to this whole concept like the ring, right? Yeah. Be known for 1 or 2 things really well versus like 10 minor things kind of well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
2 more. Discuss the ROI of Whitespace.
Here we go.
Okay. So we talked about, it's gold, right?
Yes.
We talked about the science behind it. We talked about some legitimate stats about it, right? use that as a way and say, listen, it's proven that customers, 80% of customers in this one study preferred more white space than not. Reading comprehension was increased by 20%, right?
Yes.
You can actually use this ROI, hit them with data. If they don't want to believe you because they know everything, they can't fucking argue with
They can't argue with that kind of stuff.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, last but not least, you can always follow up with readability and comprehension.
Yes.
Okay? Because again, the white space around text increases the readability. It helps customers comprehend what they're reading, and it helps the memorability of what they're reading, right? Yeah. So that, last but not least, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what you can always finish in on, right?
Totally.
Or you can even start with that, tailor this to him, but to your customer and what actually works for them. But this is 9 different ways on, how you can sell the idea of white space to customer and help them understand the importance. Because ultimately you do this, what happens is you start creating better material. Yeah. They start getting better results, and the relationship is so much better.
Exactly.
Right? It's a two-way street.
It totally is. Yeah, exactly. And I would say that probably a lot of customers, clients, I should say, aren't aware of some of these aspects. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
And maybe, you got an enlightened client that would say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I've never thought of that.
Absolutely. You know what?
That makes sense. I want people to have an enjoyable experience on my website. I don't want them to be all fucked up and confused.
It's true, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. Sometimes customers just have bad taste, and it might not be their fault.
That's true.
It might not be their fault. They know what they want, but it doesn't compute in their minds. Okay. So, with that being said, if you can use some, legitimate tactics like what we've talked about, help them realize things in a different light, spin it a different way.
Yeah.
Okay. They will be more, open.
Yes.
Okay. To change, more open to try new things, because you're not just focusing on the same thing.
Yeah.
It looks better. It looks better. It looks better.
Yeah.
This isn't about looks.
It's not about looks.
It's really not looks. While we at a high level, we bring all of our experience together and, put it out to just looks.
Yes.
It goes far deeper than that.
It goes way
deeper. It's just that, we're so past having to explain everything. And now we're at the point where we're designing it. And if it looks good, it's because it uses all of our design principles put into one composition.
Exactly.
They're not there, right?
Yeah.
So what they think looks better isn't necessarily what is, but they only know looks is one part.
Yes.
Where we know looks is 12, 15 different elements into one.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know, who thought that we could talk for 45 minutes about
white space.
White space. But there's a lot here, and this is stuff that we talk about all the time to customers.
Exactly.
And we have even better talks internally about this kind of stuff.
As a boss,
do
you have to explain this a lot to clients? How's the process with that? Or
at the beginning, yes.
At the beginning, you do.
Okay. I do. Some customers just never get it.
They never do.
Just never get it.
Right.
They don't. They claim they like Apple, but they don't know why.
They don't know exactly.
And then when you try, in their mind, what they're getting in from what they're seeing and what they're putting out is 2 different things.
Right.
Which is crazy. So some customers you just can't educate, but that goes past white space. That goes past that. There's so many other reasons. The USP, they want to focus on features. They just don't care to want to learn.
Yes.
Other customers, I'm so proud of the customers that we bring up and we elevate. We've got some of my favorite customers are the smartest people I've ever met. Crazy ass engineers, beyond smart. And it's where we started and where we are now with them, 2 completely different places.
Yes, exactly.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Right. And they're the ones that keep coming back, and they like the way we think. They understand. We understand, what they're going through as engineers. We try to bring in a little bit more data, a little bit more science. They can understand it and they appreciate it.
And
right?
It works.
And they see the ROI.
Yes.
Right. That's the big thing.
That's the hook.
That's the hook, right?
Yeah, you're what is it, number 8? Number 9. Yeah, number 8. Sorry, yeah.
Ultimately, in the end, if they can see
Money
the
talks.
ROI,
Yes,
exactly, right?
exactly.
And that's it, right? A good design will, design-led companies always outperform the other ones that don't, right?
Totally.
And we're not talking by a little bit. We're talking about
lot.
almost double.
Exactly.
So, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to go down this road? Yeah.
But it will be a struggle to convince some people.
Absolutely, it will be.
But this is absolutely perfect for
stuff that works for us anyway.
Yes, exactly.
So hopefully this can work for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys can get something from this.
Yeah.
I don't got much more to say about this.
You said it all, man. That fucking rap in the middle. I'm surprised you're not laying down on the couch there.
Oh, jeez, I passed out on that one. That was cognitive overload if I ever heard something.
I saw a vein growing in your forehead there. I was like, oh, Jesus, is he okay?
It's okay. In the back of my mind, I just kept on thinking, I had a rap beat in my mind. Like,
it's all that Beastie Boys you've been listening
to. Beastie Boys rock.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed something. I hope you got some out of this, and I hope some of this you can use in your own worlds, in your own lives, in your own businesses, and how you talk and sell customers.
Gold.
Let us know what you think when you see this episode. Leave us some messages over on Instagram so we can get the conversation going. We're responding to almost anybody on that platform, and join the conversation. A lot of people have great conversations on there too. I'm kind of enjoying it. And we are, every episode is now broadcast on YouTube. Woo! And that's kind of fun, right? That's kind of an anyway. We're on TV. So love it or hate it, you can have us in the corner of your screen playing, our episodes while you're designing all day long. And all you got to do is look over and watch one of us stare at you and wink. So there's got to be something.
We got your back. We got your back.
We got you. We got you. All right. And please, by all means, leave us a review. That really helps. Or, leave us a comment on our website and reach out to us. It's fun having these conversations. So try to get back to everybody really hard. Sometimes we get back in a day. Sometimes it takes a week. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. But we really try to get back to everybody. So forgive us and be patient. Okay. And we're okay if you have to nudge us too. We don't feel bad about that. Okay, but with that being said, dude, I think that's it.
Yeah, that was really good.
All right.
Very informative.
My name is Massimo.
My name is Sean.
Stay creative.
And stay angry.
It's Whitespace. Peace.